Hey, how's it going? Ben here, great to see you again. Thanks for tuning in. In this video, we're going to be looking at the tourist visa options for people who are wishing to travel to Thailand. So not too long ago, I made a video of an overview looking at all the different types of visas you can get to stay in Thailand. And that video proved fairly popular, and it was also quite interesting for me to make that video. But it was a very long video and all the information may not be relevant to everyone watching. So I decided to look at each of the different types of visas, and I'm going to go through and make a separate, much shorter video on the different types of visas. So in this video, like I said, we're looking at the tourist visa options. So if you need a tourist visa, if you're planning to travel or go on holiday to Thailand and you're wondering what the visa options are, then this may be the video for you. Let's get to it and head over to the computer as I have some slides we can walk through and look at the different types of tourist visas available. We'll look at which one may be best for you, and we'll look at the price and all that good stuff. So let's jump over to the computer and have a look at how the tourist visas break down. Alright, so if you did watch my other visa overview video, which I will actually leave a link to up here or up here, I forget which side it goes on. I'll leave a link to the video of an overview of all the visas, and this is where this particular slide is taken from. But today, like I mentioned, we're only going to focus on the tourist visas. So we're going to look at the two visa options, or the two main visa options for most people if they're traveling to Thailand. Okay, so tourist visas, you probably get the picture already, but I thought I would include a little snapshot of me on a beach in Phuket a few years back. So tourist visas are for the people who are looking to do this kind of thing, wearing their flowery shorts on a beach in Thailand. So tourist visas, these visas are for tourists, holidaymakers and travelers only. Pretty obvious. I'm presuming that if you're watching this video, you're looking at your options because you're planning to go traveling or sightseeing, spend some time on the beach in Thailand. It's important to remember, and I've written it in red, you are not permitted to work while you're staying in Thailand with a tourist visa. So you do need to be careful. Some people may try and get you to come over here and do some work and just get you to stay on a tourist visa. Not really a good idea. You could end up in jail and you'll probably get deported if you're caught doing this. So I definitely wouldn't recommend it. It's definitely illegal. So you're not allowed to do it. You're not allowed to work when you're on a tourist visa. So yeah, not a great idea. And I thought I'd stress that because I have seen it a couple of times where people have been encouraged, or this has been an option given to them by some people or organizations. So definitely don't do that. Tourist visas are for people looking to travel and spend some holiday time relaxing or go exploring and doing recreational things. It is not for anyone doing anything other than those things. And if you want to stay out of trouble, which I'm sure you do, you definitely don't want to get caught doing something like working or even volunteer working while you're on a tourist visa. Make sure you get that type of visa. There are work visas, there are volunteer visas, there are retirement visas, all these different things. So make sure you're on the right visa. And just to hammer that nail one last time, tourist visas are for travelers and holidaymakers only. Okay, so the first option you may have if you're a traveler or you're coming as a holidaymaker to Thailand is you may actually be visa exempt. Okay, so if you are from one of the 64 countries that are eligible, you are permitted to travel in Thailand visa exempt. And visa exempt is a kind of sort of complex way to say you don't need a visa. So perhaps you don't even need a visa if you are a holidaymaker or a traveler coming to Thailand. There are 64 countries of which I believe you do not need a visa if you're planning to stay here on a short-term holiday. And this is the list I found online, but yeah, worth double checking with a local embassy if you're from any of these countries, just to make sure. But this is the list I found online, so maybe if you're interested, you could pause the screen now, have a look through, see if your country's on there. And if it is, it could well mean, well, it probably should well mean that you don't actually need a visa to stay in Thailand because you can come visa exempt. Now, different countries have different deals, so there are some differences. Most of these countries on this list are visa exempt for up to 30 days. I know that's true if you're from the UK, and many of the other European countries and the US, I believe, but again, double check on that, I'm not too sure. But I believe, well, I know when it comes to the UK, you're allowed to stay in Thailand visa exempt for up to 30 days, so you're not allowed to extend more than 30 days. However, if you look on this list, some of the countries have 90-day options for being visa exempt. In particular, the South American countries. So we have Argentina here, has a 90-day visa exempt option. So does Brazil, so they have a 30 days or a 90-day one. Chile, like I said, they seem to be mostly South American countries. Peru, another one over here with a 90 days visa exemption option. I think that's because Thailand has a deal with certain South American countries. I believe the same is true in reverse. So if a Thai citizen were to travel to South America, there are some places they can stay visa exempt for up to 90 days. Also, Korea, so yeah, not South American, but Asian. So there is an Asian country in Korea with a visa exemption option for up to 90 days. So perhaps you're one of the lucky people from one of these countries and can stay for 90 days visa exemption. Now, I think if you're any of the countries with nothing written on, then the visa exemption is up to 30 days. Like I mentioned, that's pretty standard for a lot of countries. Worth pointing out that some countries do have less of a deal. So if we look at the chart, some countries do only have 14 days to stay visa exempt. So if you're coming from Cambodia, you're only allowed visa exempt for 14 days in the Kingdom of Thailand. Also Myanmar, you get that 14 days. So there are different types. All these rules are different depending on your country of birth. So check whatever is in your passport, because there are different deals depending on where you're traveling from and what nationality you are. But on the most part, for a lot of people, it'll be visa exempt for up to 30 days. So yeah, Australia is on this list, Belgium is on this list, Canada is on the list, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, lots more countries as well, but just to go over a few, like Ireland. So if you're traveling from any of these countries, United Kingdom, United States, South Africa. So yeah, lots of these European Western countries have visa exemption for traveling to Thailand. Typically, that's up to 30 days. So if you want to come to Thailand, you're holiday making or traveling, then you may be able to come visa exempt, especially if you're only planning on coming for a short time. So if you're only here for 2 weeks, it's definitely worth just going visa exempt. It's much easier, much less paperwork. So you can just arrive and get visa exemption on arrival. But double check with an embassy in your country, because I found this list online. I believe it's true, but perhaps things have changed. So double check with your embassy, but you might not need a visa if you're coming to Thailand as a tourist. You may be able to apply for visa exemption if you're from one of these countries on the list. Visa exemption is the easiest way to go if it's available to you. There's no paperwork. You don't need to prepare anything. You just turn up with your passport and you should get visa exemption as long as there's no issues along the way. Now, it is worth pointing out that you may need to show proof of funds and proof of departure flights when entering the country. Okay, so there are a couple of things you should be aware of if you are planning to travel to Thailand visa exemption. So it is super easy. There's nothing to prepare, but you may need to show proof of funds and proof of a departing flight. So if you want to stay in visa exemption, you may need to show that you already have an aeroplane flight booked leaving the country. And you may also need to show proof that you have enough funds to support yourself while you're staying in Thailand for a short period of time. This has happened to me. So I have been on visa exemption a couple of times in Thailand. And one of those times I did get taken to the side and I did need to show proof of my departing flight. I didn't happen to have to show my funds, but this could happen to you. I did have to show proof of a flight leaving Thailand. After I showed that, there was no further issues and I was allowed in. But that is worth bearing in mind. So visa exemption is super easy. It is effortless pretty much. You just turn up with your passport. As long as everything's above board, you'll get a visa exemption. But you may be required to show proof of a departing flight or anything. I think you can show if you got a boat or a bus going, but you may need to have booked those tickets in advance so that you can have something to show to the border patrol at the airport if you do get questioned. You may also need to show proof of some funds and that you do have enough to support yourself while you're staying in Thailand. But that is basically it, and visa exemption is possibly a really good route to go. So visa exemption is a easy and potentially the best route for you, especially if you're taking a shorter term holiday. Now, if you plan to stay in Thailand for a longer period, or perhaps you're not sure, you're traveling around Southeast Asia and you don't know, maybe you want to come and see how long you want to stay, then it's probably a better idea to book a tourist visa in advance, because the second option is a little bit better in my opinion, and you can go for a 60-day tourist visa. Travelers and holidaymakers can apply for a tourist visa if they wish to stay in Thailand for an extended period, up to 60 days. Okay, so a typical tourist visa option for many, definitely true if you're from the UK and most European countries and the States, is the 60-day tourist visa. And again, this does what it says on the tin. So if you have a 60-day tourist visa, then you're permitted to stay in the Kingdom of Thailand for 60 days. A useful thing to know is that if you do want to extend this, you do have the option if you have a 60-day tourist visa. You can extend this visa a further 30 days before the visa expires at an immigration office in Thailand, bringing the total stay to 90 days. So if you have the 60-day visa and you want to stay in Thailand longer, you can do that. You can go to an immigration office locally, so any of the ones in Thailand, and all the major cities have an immigration office where you can do this. This is a pretty simple thing to do. Many people do it. It happens a lot and it is an option. You can only do it once, so that's worth bearing in mind. But this can extend your stay up to a total of 90 days if you're on the 60-day tourist visa. Now, you can also do this if you are visa exempt. However, for most of us, if you're visa exempt, you're only allowed to stay 30 days. You can only extend once, so this brings your total to 60 days. If you want to stay in Thailand for a longer period as a tourist, you're better getting the 60-day visa than if you want the option to extend to 90 days. You can only do that if you have the 60-day visa in the first place. You can't get up to 90 days from a visa exemption. You can only get up to 60 days. So if you're planning to stay for a long time, or you want the option to extend for up to 90 days, I definitely recommend getting a 60-day visa. There's a little bit more paperwork, a little bit more running around to do on your end. Typically, you would do this in your home country, so you would go to a Thai embassy in your home country, apply for a tourist visa. You'd probably have no issues doing that. And then you would go to the immigration, get it in your passport, and then when you arrived in Thailand, this will be much smoother if you already have the visa in your passport. When you get to passport control in the airport, you'll have probably no issues if you already have the visa. So again, another plus for getting the tourist visa before you come. When it comes to the price of the visa, so visa exemption is free because you're not actually getting a visa, you're getting a visa exemption, so you don't need to pay for the visa exemption. However, if you do want the 60-day visa, you do have to pay, and this is the price I found on the London Thai embassy website. So this is definitely true if you're from the UK. It's probably a similar price, dare I say it, for most people. I believe that that's true. So yeah, the price for the visa, so the visa we're looking at, there's a few different tourist visas on here. So yeah, with tourist visa, 3-month validity, single entry, stay up to 60 days, so that's our option there, option 2. And the fee is £30, okay? So 30 British pounds, that's around 1,000 Thai baht, which sounds about right to me for the tourist visa. So it's not terribly expensive and definitely worth your time and money, especially if you're planning to travel around for a long time and you want that option to extend for up to 90 days. That is the big benefit for getting this visa. I hope you found the information in this video useful. I hope you enjoy your stay if you're planning a trip to Thailand, as I'm presuming you might well be if you're watching this video. If you do have any questions about the tourist visas, let me know in the comment section. If I can, I will try my best to help you out and answer those questions. I don't have any formal education or any professional sort of involvement in the visa process. However, I have lived in Thailand for years and I have stayed on a variety of different visas, so I have some kind of experience. That is where most of my knowledge on visas come from. So please double check anything I said in this video, because it does vary depending on what country you're from. It also varies from year to year as rules get changed and new deals are made between countries. So double check what I said with your local Thai embassy. If you found this video useful, please consider hitting that like button and subscribe if you're a traveler, especially if you're planning to come to Thailand, because I live here and I make videos about Thailand quite a bit, so it'd be great if you did that. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Hope you found it useful, and I'll see you next time.